This device costs $30, and it predicted my health span and longevity better than $800 of blood work. So your doctor ran your blood work, your cholesterol was normal, your blood pressure normal, blood sugar fine. He shook your hand and said, "Everything looks great. We'll see you next year." And somewhere on the drive home, a quiet voice said, "Then why don't I feel great?" That voice is right, and today I'm going to prove it, because there are 3 specific numbers your body is broadcasting right now, today, that your doctor almost certainly didn't measure. Numbers backed by some of the largest longevity studies ever conducted. Studies tracking over 140,000 people. Studies running for 2 decades. When researchers published the findings from one of those studies, they used language I still can't get out of my head. They said these markers were stronger predictors of death than smoking. Stronger than smoking. By the end of this video, you will know all 3 of these numbers. You'll know what they mean, and you'll know exactly how to test for each one yourself this week without a lab, without a specialist, and without spending more than $20 to $30. But before I show you the first one, I need to tell you what happened to me, because the way I found these numbers wasn't through my doctor. My name is Steve, and I've been a medical provider for over 20 years and have seen well over 20,000 patients in that time. Also, all studies mentioned will be linked in the comments. So not long ago, when I went for a routine physical, I was in my early 50s, working full-time, staying active, or at least I was telling myself I was. Everything came back normal. Cholesterol fine, blood sugar fine, blood pressure a little high, nothing alarming. My doctor gave me the thumbs up. I drove home relieved. Kind of. But here was what wasn't in my blood work. I was getting a little more winded climbing the stairs. My grip felt weaker than I remembered, and I was sleeping 8 hours, but still waking up exhausted. My recovery from any exercise was slower than it had ever been. None of that showed up in any test my doctor ordered. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you because I think a lot of you watching this know exactly what I'm talking about. You have had that experience. You left the doctor's office with a clean bill of health and still felt like something was being missed. Like you're aging faster than you should be. That feeling isn't in your head, and it wasn't in my blood work. What it was, what I eventually found after doing my own research through actual peer-reviewed studies in journals like The Lancet and JAMA, is a decline in 3 specific markers. Markers that almost no general practitioner routinely measures. One of these 3 markers, I'll be honest, shocked me when I first heard it. You'll understand why in a few minutes, and then you'll never look at it the same way again. But before I get to any of them, I need to explain to you why your doctor isn't checking these, because it's not what most people assume. Most of us have been raised to think about health in one dimension. Am I sick or am I not sick? That's what a standard physical answers. Your doctor is running a detection system. The question it asks is there disease present right now? That is a useful question, just not the right one if what you care about is how your body holds up over the next 20 or 30 years. Lifespan is how long you live. Health span is how many of those years you feel strong, move without pain, stay independent, and stay mentally sharp. And the research is clear. Those 2 things can differ dramatically. You can be alive at 80 and bedridden. You can be at 67 and struggling to get off the floor. Or, and this is what I want for every person watching, you can be 75 and hiking, carrying your own groceries, traveling, moving through life, not watching it pass by. Your standard blood work tells you almost nothing about what your future holds and which future you're heading towards. These 3 markers I'm about to show you are predictive biomarkers. They don't measure disease today. They measure your biological trajectory. And knowing them gives you time to change direction regardless of your age. The first one has been called the single most strongest predictor of how long you'll live, and it's stronger than smoking. And let's get into it. VO2 max. If you've never heard this term, by the end of this section, you'll understand it better than most people in a gym. VO2 max is your body's maximum oxygen uptake, how efficient your heart, lungs, and muscles work together during exertion. Think of it as your cardiovascular engine's horsepower. The higher it is, the more powerful and efficient the engine. And this affects everything: your energy at rest, your recovery speed, your brain function, your immune response. Everything is downstream of how well your body uses oxygen. A landmark study published in JAMA followed over 122,000 patients for more than 2 decades. They looked at cardiorespiratory fitness measured by VO2 max and its relationship to survival. Low cardiorespiratory fitness was the single most strongest predictor of deaths from all causes in the entire study. Not smoking, not diabetes, not heart disease, fitness. And the gap between the least fit and the most fit was larger than the gap between a current smoker and a non-smoker. Let that register. VO2 max drops roughly 10% every decade after 30 if you're sedentary. By the time you're in your 60s, that can mean operating at half the aerobic capacity you had at 30. And a declining VO2 max doesn't just mean you get winded. It affects your cognitive sharpness, your metabolic rate, your immune function, everything. The good news is VO2 max is highly trainable even in your 50s, 60s, and 70s. You are not locked in, and I'll cover the exact protocol to raise it in an upcoming video. For now, how do you test it? Well, it's called the Rockport Walk Test. Walk 1 mile on a flat surface as fast as you can. Record your time and your heart rate at the finish. Plug those into a free calculator, which I'll link below. You'll have a solid estimate in 15 minutes. That's marker 1. Important, no question. But the second marker, the one I mentioned that shocked me, that's coming up next. And I promise after you hear the research, you're not going to be laughing. Marker number 2. When I first read about this one, I genuinely laughed. I thought someone had published a bad study. I thought there had to be a catch. It's grip strength. I know exactly what you're thinking right now. Steve, what the heck does squeezing something have to do with how long I live? Well, everything. It turns out that everything has to do with it. Published in The Lancet, arguably the world's most prestigious medical journal on the planet, the PURE study tracked 142,861 adults across 17 countries over 4 years, one of the largest cardiovascular outcome studies ever conducted. Their finding on grip strength: every 5 kilogram decrease in grip strength was associated with a 17% higher risk of dying from cardiovascular disease. And the researchers' conclusion: grip strength was a stronger predictor of cardiovascular mortality than systolic blood pressure. Grip strength beats blood pressure as a heart disease predictor. Your doctor measures your blood pressure at every single visit. When was the last time anyone checked your grip strength? Have you even heard of it before now? Why does it predict heart health? Because grip strength isn't just measuring your hand strength. It's a proxy for your entire muscular system. And skeletal muscle is metabolically active tissue. It regulates insulin, controls inflammation, and communicates with your cardiovascular system in ways we're still fully understanding. Weak grip is a canary in the coal mine, a signal that something deeper is declining, long before you feel symptoms. There's also a practical survival reason. Falls are the #1 cause of injury-related deaths in adults over 65. Your grip strength is part of what catches you when you slip. Keeping your hands strong isn't vanity. It's a survival mechanism. How do you test it? Well, the device I was holding at the beginning of this video, a hand dynamometer, around $30 on Amazon. Squeeze 3 times with each hand. Take the average. For men in their 50s and 60s, you're looking for at least 37 to 40 kilograms in your dominant hand. Below 35 is a red flag. The good news is grip strength responds quickly to training. And in an upcoming video, I'll show you the single exercise that built it better than almost anything else, while also increasing your VO2 max. But the third marker, this one's different from the other 2. It's not just about fitness. It measures something about your nervous system that no amount of exercise directly produces. It's the most personal of the 3, and it's the one I check every single morning. Coming up right now, the third marker: heart rate variability. This one sounds the most technical, but in some ways, it's the most personal. It's not just measuring fitness. It's measuring how well your entire nervous system is handling everything life is throwing at it right now. Here's the concept. Your heart doesn't beat like a metronome. If your heart rate is 60 beats per minute, those 60 beats are not perfectly evenly spaced. There are tiny millisecond level variations between each beat. HRV measures those variations. Counterintuitively, more variation is better. High HRV means your autonomic nervous system, the part governing recovery, stress response, immune function, and digestion, is flexible and adaptable. Low HRV means your body is under chronic physiological stress, even if you don't consciously feel it. Think of it as the suspension on a car. Good suspension absorbs every bump and adapts to every curve. Worn out suspension transmits every shock directly to the frame. High HRV is good suspension. Low HRV means your system is running rigid, and eventually rigid things break. The Framingham Heart Study, one of the longest running cardiovascular studies in history, found that reduced HRV was independently associated with significantly higher all-cause mortality. A single standard deviation drop in low-frequency HRV power was linked to a 70% greater hazard of death. 70% greater mortality hazard from a single standard deviation of HRV decline. Here's what makes HRV uniquely relevant for people over 40. It naturally declines with age, but it declines faster when you're under chronic stress, sleeping poorly, sedentary, or drinking more than your body handles well. Every bad lifestyle choice shows up in HRV before it shows up anywhere else. And the flip side is equally true. HRV responds sometimes within weeks to better training, improved sleep, and stress management. It's a real-time feedback system. When you start doing the right things, you see it move. Simple. So how do you measure it? Smartwatches, fitness rings, almost anything like that tracks it. HRV for training uses your phone's camera, free. Welltory is another strong option. Track for 1 week to establish your baseline. Consistent decline is a signal to act on. This is the one I check every morning because it tells me before I've done anything that day whether my body is ready to push or whether it needs recovery. That information is genuinely worth more than another set of blood work. VO2 max, grip strength, heart rate variability. On the surface, aerobic capacity, hand strength, nervous system flexibility. 3 completely different things, but they're all measuring the same underlying question. How physically resilient are you? Not right at this moment, not do you have a disease today, but over the next 10, 20, 30 years. Is your body building the reserve capacity that helps you be independent, sharp, and active at 75, 80, and beyond? Or is it quietly losing ground? Researchers who study longevity call this accelerated biological aging. Your chronological age, the number on your birthday cake, stays fixed. But your biological age, the actual functional state of your body systems, starts pulling ahead of it. You can be 55 chronologically and have the body functioning like it's 70. And the most sobering part, for most people, this process is completely invisible. No standard test flags it. No symptom forces you to deal with it. It happens quietly, insidiously, until one day it doesn't. I'm not saying this to frighten you. The flip side is equally true and equally powerful. These markers respond to training. People in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who specifically target these 3 numbers don't just slow the decline. Research shows they can meaningfully reverse it. But you have to take personal responsibility and put in the work. I did not say this was going to be passive. This is the work, not just living longer, living better for longer. Now you know what to measure. That puts you ahead of the vast majority of people your age. So here are your do-outs for this week. Step 1, get your baseline. This week, not next month, this week. Run the Rockport wall test for VO2 max. The calculator link is in the description. Order a hand dynamometer for grip, around $30. Arrives in 2 days. I'll link the one I use in the description. I'm not affiliated. I just like it, and that's what I use. Download HRV for training or check your smartwatch or ring for trends. They measure these too, and quite honestly are just a little bit better, and most people have a smartwatch or a ring nowadays. But if you don't, use the HRV for training. You can get all 3 baselines in a single afternoon. Write them down, date them. That is your starting line. Step 2, bring these to your next appointment with your provider. Ask them by name for a cardiorespiratory fitness assessment. Ask about grip strength testing. Show them your HRV data. The most forward-thinking physicians in longevity medicine are incorporating all 3 into standard care. You deserve that level of attention to your future, don't you? You need to take charge of your future health. Don't let it up to somebody else. Step 3, Watch the next video, coming out in about a week. I've already filmed it. It covers a single exercise that improves all three markers simultaneously. No gym, no expensive equipment, literally one piece of gear, under $50, something you can do in your own driveway or on your own street. I'll show you the research and walk you through exactly how to do it. Now, the bigger point, you are not at the mercy of your genetics. You are not locked into whatever trajectory your last blood work suggested. The research in these three markers makes one thing extraordinarily clear. Your body responds, even in your 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. Even if you've been sedentary, even if it feels like it's too late, it is not too late. The people who are strong and independent at 80 aren't people who started caring about this at 80. They're people who made a decision in their 50s or 60s to take it seriously. You just made that decision by watching this video. If you found this video useful, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and share it with a friend or family who you want to see around for the next 20 or 30 years and be healthy. And do drop a comment below. I want to know, which of these three markers do you think is your weakest right now? VO2 max, grip strength, or HRV? Tell me below. I read every single comment, and what you share shapes what I cover next. And I'll see you again soon. More fit next week than this week.